Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Natinator, and welcome to the second part of the 6-part series of the story of her holding an orange. Let's get right into it, so as always, turn out the lights, get comfortable, and let the story begin. Okay guys, I realize I'm a bit late with my girlfriend's story, but when you read my latest update, you'll see that I was quite consumed with what was happening to us. Nothing happened since the incident last night. Police called to check in with us this morning. They still have no clue what's going on, really. So her story. Let me begin by telling you a bit about us. As I stated before, I was born in Bosnia, moved to a nearby country in Balkans where I grew up. I came to the US over 6 years ago. My girlfriend was born in India, grew up in Kenya until she was 3 when she moved to Canada. I met her a little over a year ago, and we've been together since. So my girl, let's call her Leela, did have a few encounters with Rose. First one that she remembers was on a plane. She was a flight attendant for Air Canada for several years. One day, about 6 years ago, she was flying her regular flight, but she can't remember what destination it was. It lasted maybe 2 hours. Once they got off and the seatbelt signs went away, she got up to serve complimentary drinks. Halfway through her section, she met Rose. She didn't know it at the time, of course. She said that something was terribly off about the woman. She had this creepy grin on her face, and was really pale, and kept staring at her. When Leela offered her a drink and some snacks, she got no answer, only a wider and creepier fucking smile. Then Rose spoke. "I have something for you," she said in a voice that definitely wasn't natural for a woman her age. Her voice belonged more to a teenager than an adult, something playful but terrifying in it. Now, Leela has seen some shit while flying, so she wasn't taken aback by this interaction. "Yeah, and what would that be, ma'am?" "Don't patronize me, you bitch." She said that fast, like really fast. Her jaw was closed while saying that. Then she started grinding her teeth, never letting go of that fucking smile. This was a red flag for Leela. When passengers get aggressive, attendants walk away unless there is physical contact. "Alright, well, you have a pleasant rest of the flight, ma'am, okay?" "I have this for you," she whispered it, holding and taking out an orange from behind her back. Never moving a muscle on her face. Still a teenage voice, like when a 12-year-old hits puberty kind of voice. "No thanks." Leela decided to call it a day with the crazy cunt and walked away. "Oh, but you should. Or one day. You know, one day." And that's that. Leela gave her the fuck off look and walked away. The lady never bothered her again during that flight. Leela went home a few days later and didn't think much of what had happened. When her mum asked her how her flight was, Leela smiled and said, "Good, other than one really crazy lady." Mum wanted to hear more, so Leela started telling her about what happened. By the time she said the word orange, her mum started crying. Leela was in shock. It was story time. Well, apparently, when my girlfriend was a baby in Kenya, she had woken her parents up a few times with loud crying. When they'd walked into her room, she'd have an orange next to her in her crib. Everything in the house would be locked though. Windows, doors, everything. It got to the point where her parents moved the crib into their room and installed security cameras. Well, on Leela's 3rd birthday that morning, when they woke up, they saw an orange laying on Leela's chest. They were absolutely taken over by horror. They called the police. Police came and looked over the camera footage. Cameras clearly showing a woman opened the first door that was locked, walked into their room, placed an orange on Leela, and just stood there for like an hour. just standing there with her head tilted to the left, looking at her. By this point, it is unnecessary to say that Leela was completely horrified. Her mum wasn't doing much better either. Anyways, to keep the story going, her parents didn't know what to do. The police couldn't find the mysterious woman, and no security measure, other than 24/7 bodyguards, which they couldn't afford, was enough. Some of their family was already in Canada, and were pressuring them to move, so this incident was a final push. They moved and left this creature with an orange behind, until that day, on that flight. Leela was completely unable to do anything for the next few days after that conversation. She didn't eat much, didn't communicate with anyone. After a while she got better. There was no sign of further horror, so she started believing it was all a fucked up coincidence, and she went on with her life. She hasn't seen Rose in years after that. The last time she encountered Rose was 1 month before she, Leela, met me. Leela did many transatlantic flights. She loved those. Long travels, decent money, seeing the world. She had it all. 1 month before we met, she was coming back from a Hong Kong trip. She flew to Toronto, I believe. She's asleep and I don't remember exactly. I believe it was Toronto though. Crew had a nice hotel. Everyone had their own room. Leela was on the 3rd floor. She loved drinking at that time. She got pretty drunk that night. She passed out at about 1 a.m. At around 4 a.m. she heard a knock on the door, then another one, and then another one. But they weren't loud or fast knocks. No, they were slow and silent, yet loud enough to wake her drunk ass up. She rolled out of bed thinking it was one of her equally drunk crew members. Not thinking much, she opened the door, and there she stood. Leela said that lights in her room were off, but the TV was on. Light from the screen was shining on Rose's face, shining on the grin, shining on the pearly white teeth, bright red lipstick, and white face, paired up with tilted head. You know how when you're drunk and some scary shit, like an accident or the cops come, etc., it happens, and you sober the fuck up immediately? Yeah, she just let out this hopeless sound of horror. They both stood there. Rose started rocking back and forth. Every time she'd rock back, she'd reveal red shoes hidden underneath her white dress. Her teeth were grinding. Then, she pulled out an orange. "What do you want from me?" Leela begged. Rose kept rocking with a smile. "Please, just leave me alone. I don't have anything." "You take it. You take it now. He will too." She said that with that same teenager voice. Only a little more playful tone was used this time. Like a happy-ish child. Don't know if it was her defense mechanism activating, but Leela took the fucking orange and threw it over Rose's head and screamed, "Get the fuck out of here and take this shit with you, you freak!" That was the last time either of us saw Rose lose her smile. White teeth disappeared underneath the thick red lips. Head went back from a gentle tilt into its natural position. "I will see you two soon." She said it in an adult voice, and this voice was scarier than the teenager one. Leela says it's because it sounded real, like a conscious, normal person making a threat. Of course, at that time, Leela didn't know me and had no idea who you two were. She assumed it would be her mum. That brings us to today. Yeah, if you read the update from my previous story, you saw that our room was broken into by Rose. Pictures of the break-in were taken before the police came. They'll be up on here today. Some stuff in our room was moved around. We're scared as fuck, clueless as to what's going on. I'll be Skyping with my mum soon to see if she has any answers. Leela will talk to her mum as well. I'm personally just shocked at these developments. I never believed anything like this was even possible. Quite honestly, if one of you wrote this story here, I wouldn't believe shit you said. And I can't blame you if you don't believe me. But if you have any idea about what this might be, I'm all ears. I assume it's some sort of a cult, but the only thing that fucks with my head is the fact that Rose knew my girlfriend before I did. Everything so far could have been explained in a logical way, but this took it to a super fucking natural level. Were they putting an effort into getting us together? How'd they do that? And more importantly, why? For what possible benefit? Fuck this, man. Fuck this.